income, your impact, and your faith?
Are you ready to dream the impossible, knowing that with God, all things truly are possible?
It's time to create divine millionaire momentum while keeping God as your CEO. Join me, Allie Porter, your Christian Connector Concierge.
And me, Elise Smith, your Christian business strategist, as we unite our shows to bring you a dynamic and faith-infused experience.
In this inspiring show, you'll gain access to powerful insights, biblical business strategies, and the real-life stories of Christian women entrepreneurs focused on 10xing their income, their impact, and their faith just like you.
Discover how to unlock your full potential, kick that inner dream stealer to the curb, embrace a divine wealth mindset, and reach the goals that God has placed on your heart. Allie and I will guide you on a journey to not only reach your goals, but also strengthen your relationship with God as your ultimate CEO.
With divine millionaire momentum, the sky is not the limit. It's just the beginning. Tune in, dream big, and partner with God to make the impossible possible.
Your journey to divine success starts here. Welcome to the Divine Millionaire Momentum Show. We are excited to have you guys here today. And today we're going to talk about a topic that puts fear into a lot of people's hearts, right? And that is fear. And really how to choose faith over fear in our business, because we do experience fear all the time. And it is a tool from the devil, not from God. So, Allie, how does fear show up in your business?
Oh my goodness. How much time do we have? No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
So I would say for me, how does fear show up in my business? I would say that it shows up in imposter syndrome. It shows up in looking at everybody else and seeing what they're doing and saying, I'm not there yet. I'm way behind. I'm, never going to get there because of X, Y, and Z. And I think for me, that's really been, and it's not just that also, it's also as I'm doing something, it's not done perfectly or it's not done well, it's kind of messy, or there's a lot of like roadblocks or things that are stopping me from getting to where I want to go. And so I look at that and I'm like, oh, maybe that means that God doesn't want me to do it because I'm behind, because everybody else is ahead of me, because it's hard, because there's roadblocks, there's like things are just messy and not, what they need to be. And I start listening to that voice and I start saying, okay, well, maybe that is right. Maybe I should stop. Maybe whatever that is. And that fear comes up, that anxiety comes up, and it's just stupid, to be honest. It's stupid that it happens, but it does. And so I think for me, just being able to know that that's going to happen and be aware that that's going to happen and know that that's how the enemy is going to get to me, helps me to be a lot more self-aware and to just work through it and just breathe through it. And I won't pretend and say that I'm perfect at it or that I don't allow those thoughts to consume me sometimes, because sometimes they do. Just sometimes they do. But that's why you have awesome partnerships like what Elise and I have. And that's also why you have good friends, you have a spouse, you have your church leaders, you have, your family to just like help you stay in a good space. But yeah, I mean, that's real. It's real. So that's how fear shows up in my business and in my life, I would say.
Yeah, absolutely. I know. And as I was pondering this question, when we first came up with it, I was like, man, fear shows up a lot. Like, from different sizes too. Like it can be little tiny fears of, ooh, did I make a right decision with that? Right. Or huge fears of, am I going in the right path that God wants me to go down? Or stage fright. I know that when I first became a speaker, oh my heavens, my anxiety, which is all about fear, was through the roof. And now I've been able to find a little bit more peace in that. But it reminds me that, 2 Timothy 1:7 says that God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power and of faith and of a sound mind. And I have to remember that. Like anytime that fear pops up in all of its crazy forms in our life and business, because holy cow, I mean, just think about it for just a second. Anyone who's listening or watching this, how many times has fear crept up in the past week for you or the past month, right? If God has not given us a spirit of fear, then where's that coming from? And we
Mhm.
know the answer to that. We know that it's the adversary or Satan. And why is that? I want to kind of just go off topic for just a second because it's still on topic. But Allie, why do you feel like Satan uses the tool of fear almost more than anything else?
Hmm. I would say because it's the loudest, because it gives you that like fight or flight response. It's very uh it's very noisy. It takes over. It can be paralyzing, which then causes you to not do anything, which is what he wants. He doesn't want you to walk out your mission on this earth. He doesn't want you to help those people. He doesn't want you to explore and recognize who you are and whose you are and the full potential that you truly have. Um, and so, yeah, I think it's just because it's the um, it can be the most debilitating and paralyzing thing.
Yeah, man, I feel your answer because so a few months ago, Allie and I went to a conference in California, and I used to fly all the time, like back and forth from Utah to Texas every other week for 6 years for my job. And then, towards the end, I just got really sick of it and I started to get anxiety and all the things. And I won't go into a huge detail about it, but I remember calling Allie up the morning that I was supposed to be on the flight. And I was terrified. I was terrified. This was like big, big fear. And when Allie says like it's debilitating, then that's exactly what happens. You can't think of anything else. And if God has given us a gift of choice and a gift of agency, or is another word for choice, then which is one of our most powerful gifts that we've ever been given, our bodies and our choice, then Satan is going to want to take away those choices or make us think we don't have any choices. And so when I'm laying there in bed, and the stupid thing about anxiety, which is really only fear, right, is that one, it's kind of all in your mind, but then it goes into every part of your body. But two is that it is totally debilitating. And so when I'm laying there and I'm actually just afraid that I'm going to get sick, and so I'm literally making myself sick, I'm not actually afraid of being on the plane. Once I'm on the plane, I'm totally fine. But I'm laying there curled up and my stomach is killing me and I feel like I'm going to throw up. And I already have a couple of times, and I'm calling Allie, like tears streaming down my face. And she's like, "You need to be here." You remember that, Allie?
Oh gosh, do I? I'm getting emotional thinking about it because yeah, it was. Ooh, yeah, I do. I remember it very vividly. Yeah.
Yeah. And what did you say? Why did you say I needed to be there?
Mm. You needed to be there because, well, a lot of reasons, but also because God wanted you to do this. He wanted you to be in this space and to experience. Um, so the conference was for Girl Power Alliance, and he wanted you to experience that so that you could know, like, these are my people. This is where I need to be. So there's that piece of it. But then the other piece was because I needed you there as my business partner, as my friend, as someone that I looked up to and really.
Oh, looks like we lost Allie. Um, yeah. So I'll take you guys back to that of what she's talking about. I was terrified to get on that plane because I just didn't think that I was going to make it the whole weekend long with that anxiety. And she said, you need to be there. And when we talk about fear as debilitating and affecting,
Love and admire.
Oh, sorry, we lost you there for a second, Allie.
Okay,
There
so
we
go
go.
ahead. Where did we leave off?
Yeah, so I was just kind of catching them up on basically what you were saying there, which is killing me because this is like one of the best parts of the show,
I
right?
know, I'll repeat
We're
it. I'll
killing
repeat
it.
it. So
Okay,
so what was
awesome.
it?
Let's
What
do
was
it.
it? Okay.
Yeah, so I basically said, so you were explaining of why I needed to be there. So the last thing that we heard was I needed you to be there as my business partner and my friend.
Yes. Yes, I needed you to be there because you mattered, because you were the person that was helping me as well. And so it wasn't just about you. It wasn't just about you um, and what you were feeling. It was also like God wanted you to help other people as well. And if Satan could keep you stuck there and not let you get on the plane, then you wouldn't have the influence that you had at that event. And you wouldn't have had the experience that you had where you were fully committed and you said, yes, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. And after the event was over too, I remember you tell, and we stayed up way too late talking about all of this stuff.
Yeah.
But I would just remember you were saying like, I needed to be here. Like I really needed to be here. And I knew that's how it was going to be, but it's hard when you have that fear because it blinds you from everything else. And it's so much easier to just like not do it. It's so much easier to just say, I'm just going to give up. I'm just going to give in to the fear, because if I give in to the fear, then I'm safe and
Mhm.
then there's nothing's going to happen, right? Like I can just be in this space and not have to deal with it. But and I've been on that debilitating fear as well. Mine's been slightly different than yours, but it revolved funny enough, it's revolved around finances and around like that kind of stuff. And I literally remember when I had a total breakdown. And I remember one of my businesses kind of I closed it, and it was just there was a lot of things that happened with it, and it was really really hard. And I remember sitting on the stairs and just like having my head in my hands, and I was kind of just like pulling on my hair and just being like, I feel like I can't move. I feel like I'm just in this space of I don't know what to do next. I don't know, like I feel like I'm not able to make good decisions. I feel like I've failed in every single way possible, you know? And my husband was like, yeah, but you have to get up again. Like you can't just like sit here and just like not do anything. And I'm like, well, that's what it feels like. It feels like I can't get up or do anything. And yet when I was able to listen to my husband, when I was able to um, listen to that still small voice that is so much softer than the fear that was in my head and in my heart, and because that fear was like screaming at me.
Mhm.
And when I was able to finally just tune that out and just go within and just realize, yeah, that's not a real thing. It's a mirage. It's like not there. I know who I am, I know whose I am, and I know that I have to keep going. I can't just stop. Because if I stop, then the people that I'm supposed to bless will not be blessed. And therefore, the ripple effect that we want to create will stop.
Mhm. Yeah, so powerful. And you do have to get vulnerable when you're talking about your fears, and we have to admit that we have them.
Yeah.
Just like you were saying at the beginning of the show, is that we all have fears. But as I was kind of talking a little bit while Allie was having some technical difficulties there, fear is Satan's tool to make us think that we do not have choice or agency.
Mhm.
Because when we're in that debilitating moment with our stomach hurting, or we want to pull out our hair, or whatever that is, whether it's small or big to us, we feel like we are stuck. For me, when I'm in physical pain, it's like, well, that's it. Like, there's nothing I can do. And especially because with anxiety, I know that the second that I say, Allie, I'm not hopping on this plane, I'm going to feel 100% better, because
Mhm.
that's how anxiety, and sometimes that's how fear goes, is that if we give in to the fear, it's like we get this instant gratification.
Yeah.
And that's what we're fighting against that whole time. But we know that it's bigger than that. And not only did Allie say, that there are people that I need to serve there and that I need it for myself and she needs me there and all of those things, but she asked me a question that I will never forget. And I don't remember the exact words, so I'm going to paraphrase it here. But it's, something to the effect of, do you trust God to do this? She had me commit. She's like, Elise, tell me you're going to be here. And I try to be a woman of my word. And so I knew that if I said yes, I was going to be there. And so I think she stayed on the line for a good 3 minutes in silence while I was like, okay, God, give me the strength to do this. And she said, do you feel like God can be bigger than your fears? Do you trust God that he will be there for you? I'm like, well, yeah, of course I have to. Like, and if that's the case, then yes, I can make this decision. Yes, I can commit. Yes, God will be there with me, regardless if I'm sick the entire weekend, which off and on I kind of was. It was a little bit rough, but it was exactly where I needed to be. And that's the thing is that is as long as we are leaning into God and trusting God, that's how we make the fear disappear, right?
Mm.
Or not even disappear, just turn it down. Because honestly, that fear is still in the back of your head. But Jesus Christ says that he is the one that brings peace that surpasses the world.
Mm.
And so it's not that we can gain strength and faith and courage to do this on our own. We can't rely on the flesh of man. In order to be able to choose faith over fear in our business, we have to turn to the true giver of peace, the Prince of Peace. We turn to Christ, we turn to our Heavenly Father for strength that is not of our own. In
Mm.
that moment when you were on the stair, don't you agree that that's how that was for you?
Oh yeah. And I'm so glad you brought that up because I was trying to remember back to that whole situation and I do remember saying that, but I don't think it was me saying that. That's why I couldn't really remember it. I think it was because that's that was the spirit speaking through me to you. And I wholeheartedly agree. I mean, I think the world wants you to say, oh, just trust yourself, just trust, but you actually can't. Just like what you were saying, like we are flawed. We will make mistakes. We will let people down. We will give in to whatever. Like it's going to happen. But if we put our trust in Jesus Christ, that's where the strength comes from. It doesn't come from ourselves. And so I loved that reminder. And I completely agree on those stairs that day that that's exactly where it came from. And it wasn't, it also wasn't like I went from total despair and everything to like, okay, now I can take on the world. Like it was not like that.
Yeah.
Just don't want to give you a false impression. It was like, all right, well, I actually felt completely and utterly worthless. Like I just felt like I couldn't do anything. And so I actually just gave it over to the Lord and I said, you're going to have to carry me because I can't do it. And I even remember telling my husband that I was just like, if I get up tomorrow and I'm doing things, it's not because I can do them. It's because Jesus Christ is carrying me so that I can sort of kind of do it. And he's mostly doing it. So,
Exactly.
yeah.
Isn't that amazing? Like, I think that is why we say, like, keeping God as your CEO, right? Partnering with God is because God gives us God-sized dreams for a reason. And it's because we aren't meant to accomplish them by ourselves. And
Mhm.
not just by ourselves as in individual entrepreneurs, but we're meant to partner with other people like Allie and I are doing, which is awesome.
Mhm.
And with God especially, because we cannot do it in our own strength. We are nothing compared to God, but at the same time, we are everything when we partner with God.
Yeah. Oh, this was so good, Elise. So, so good. So, we kind of have talked about like what are you afraid of? What are the things that, we've kind of given examples of what we're afraid of. But I want you to think for a minute, for those of you listening, what are you afraid of? What is the thing that is just debilitating you, just not allowing you to move forward in the way that you need to? And I want you to think about what Elise and I have been talking about this whole time, where um, who are you trusting when you're afraid, when you're in that space of fear? and overwhelm and anxiety and all the things that come with it, who are you trusting? And so the goal is to turn from yourself and to turn towards Christ and allow him to be that peace for you. And it's his peace is not what the world giveth, right? It passeth all understanding. Um it is true peace. And so in closing, I just want to touch on this question, Elise. How would we plan to choose as we're going through this space of fear and things that come up? And I'm not just talking business, I'm also talking, parenting, your health, your relationships, your finances, whatever it is that is causing you to have that fear. What is the plan to choose faith over fear? What is your plan? How are you going to do that? And so, Elise, I'll ask you, like, how would you plan to choose that faith over fear? What does that look like for you?
Yeah. I feel like this conversation is for me right now. Um, ooh, this is it's interesting that when you like teach a lesson, so to speak, it's like more for you than it is for the people who are listening to
Yep.
it.
And the fact that I had the technical difficulties, there you go, right there. Satan's
Yeah.
like, nope, they're not gonna talk about it. And we're like, yes, we are.
Yes, I rebuke that.
Yes, I rebuke that.
Yeah, I think that what you just said was so powerful. And I want to bring back a couple of things that you just said is that remember the overwhelm is also a part of fear. And we as entrepreneurs and moms and wives and sisters and daughters and all of like, I feel like our role is constantly overwhelmed. And that if we aren't careful, that fear will turn into overwhelm. And I think that I just kind of had this epiphany as you were talking is like, I feel like fear, like you have all these little fears, right? That pop up and you're like, okay, no big deal, no big deal. I'll just stuff it down. I'll just stuff it down. I'll just stuff it down. And then it becomes this cloud of overwhelm because I had a coach one time who talked to me about how overwhelm is actually the manifestation of decisions not being made or emotions not being dealt with. And I was like, wow, that is so what we do with fear is we just try to brush it off. Oh, it's no big deal. It's no big deal. It's no big deal. All those little pieces of fear we stuff down, and then it becomes this cloud of overwhelm that just envelops us. And sometimes we can't see through it. But the question that you asked is so powerful is who are you putting your trust in? If we are thinking that our to-do list is so long and we have to do everything. And oh my God, like that's where overwhelm comes from is juggling too many plates at once and handling so many roles and not feeling the greatest, right? Like, or not, I mean, even just if you're hungry or if you're tired or whatever, those things compound and it becomes overwhelming and so much so that you can't feel like you can do anything about it. But if we can just take a second and stop and say, who am I putting my trust in right now? How can we not? When we say Jesus Christ or when we say our Heavenly Father, how can we not start to see through that fog? How can we not see that light? He is that light upon the hill, right? And so we can he can part that fog for us. We might still feel like, oh yeah, we still have this crazy chaos and this, we don't have all the solutions fixed. Just like Allie was saying before in her story, is that she didn't magically pop up and say, yeah, okay, I can do this. But God gave her strength one step at a time, one moment at a time. And so even if he leads you out of that cloud of darkness or that fog of overwhelm, just one tiny step at a time, I think it starts with that question of who am I putting my trust in right now? And this is so the reminder that I needed because I literally had to just peel myself out of bed this morning to be able to be here. But it is such a good reminder for all of us. That's the plan, right? That is the plan to choose faith over fear, is to remember who we are, whose we are and who we can truly trust, and who we decide and choose to trust in that moment will make all the difference in the world.
Mm, I love that. I love that. And I couldn't say it better myself. I truly believe that, and it's like you were saying earlier, it's so funny, like when we hop on here and we do these shows and stuff, this isn't actually, I mean, it is for you guys. It's great. Like we love you and it's totally for you. And we hope that something resonated with you and that you will take away what you will, whatever the Spirit is telling you to take away from this. But it's so good for us to be able to do this because we have visions, we have goals, we have things that we want to achieve in life and in business. And sometimes it can get foggy. Sometimes it can be fearful. It can be hard. It can be like there can just be arrows coming at us from all different directions. And that sweet reminder of that trust and who we're trusting in should be something that you remind yourself of daily, like not just once a week or at church on Sunday or, but like literally daily. And I've been doing this gratitude journal every morning and every night. It's divided into 2 sections and I really love it. And today it's going to be the fact that I don't have to trust in myself. My gratitude is going to be that I don't have to trust in myself. I can trust in Jesus Christ. I can trust in God, and he is going to lift me up and he's going to carry me when I need it, and he'll link arm in arm with me as we walk along the path, as we continue to do things. And the more we rely on him, the better we will be mentally, the better we'll be physically, the better we'll be in our hearts, and just our whole lives will start to shift because it isn't about us. It isn't about what we can do in our own strength. It's in him. And that's where the fear dissipates. And that's what Satan does not want us to do. He wants us to defend or to rely on ourselves. But that also is what causes the problem in the first place. So don't do that. But I loved everything that we shared today. And Elise, did you have anything else you wanted to share before we close?
Yeah, I think just what are you afraid of? What are the fears that you're experiencing, whether it's small or big? And then just ask yourself, in whom do I trust? And be honest with yourself about that, because I will tell you, I have not been trusting him as much as I have wanted to, but that changes after this show in this exact moment because of this. So thank you for just being in tune with the Spirit, Allie, and giving us that message today.
Well, thank you for reminding us that it is, because it is trusting in him more than anything else. And doesn't it just make you feel better? Like even when we're talking, the energy has just been lifted because we're like, oh wow, I still get to be his hands and feet. I can still do what I need to do, but I don't have to trust in myself to only do it by myself. We can partner together, and that's why we call him our CEO as well. So I love it.
Amen.
All right.
Awesome. All right. We'll see you on the next show, guys. Thank you for joining us on this inspiring journey of divine millionaire momentum.
Don't miss out on connecting with other Christian ladypreneurs and building valuable relationships. Join our free virtual networking events every Thursday at m2networking.com.
Ready to take your success to the next level? Be sure to book a call with us to explore the incredible resources, tools, and opportunities that we have to empower your journey at m2networking.com/call.
Remember, with God, all things are possible. Until next time, stay inspired, believe in Christ, and receive the wealth and prosperity that God has for you.